Hi, John Marshall, the DrillMaster. This is Xavier High School X Squad performance. Robbie Zyko was judging. Awesome job, man. That's fantastic. I love it. I love that. Just fantastic. Okay, so first thing I notice, and I don't know if Xavier is. It. I'm not sure if it's Army JROTC. It looks like it is Army JROTC, or could be an academy that has Army JROTC, because I don't recognize the uniform. But I'm going to go off. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to figure out the uniform and see what's going on. So, Commander, you have your gold chin strap braid down, and I've explained this in another video, but the chin strap that's in the front is purely for decoration. You should never ever bring that down under your chin. You need a second chin strap that goes to the rear. That's the one you bring down, and whether it's the one that you just tighten up a little bit, pull the tabs on either side, or if you get the buckle type, it's like a little belt. Either one, but you never bring down the front chin strap. It just doesn't it doesn't look good. And you've got yeah, the uniform bunching up here. Got a firm grip on the scabbard, and everybody's got this stance. It's a pseudo ceremonial at ease, heads down, but not all the heads are the same, because if you look, you can see the tops of the covers. Some you can see, some you can't. So it's all variation of technique here. This is even before we get started. So this isn't really a great impression that you're making here. So let's go back to the three stomps, or the three butt slams. So you can see after, yeah. So this is, oh boy, it's not what I wanted, of course. There. All right, so three butt slams, and we have a rifle hovering, another rifle hovering, another rifle hovering, but this rifle is on the marching surface. So is this one, so is this one, so is this one. Now, is that a huge deal? No, not really. It's a small detail. However, the small detail becomes a little bit bigger, and the reason I noticed was because the first cadet here, his rifle is wavering just a bit, and if you have that white sling, then it's a beacon. Any kind of movement with anything that is, so your whole uniform is dark. You have this white stripe here on your uniform, on your, well, on the uniform trouser leg here on the side, but this white stripe at the front of your rifle, and you're doing this. Not purposefully. I get that. I understand that, but you're going to need to figure out: do you butt slam 3 times and then plant that rifle, or do you bring it back up and let it hover on over the marching surface? Oh, so they did something on the something on the flank over, and the camera didn't catch it. That's a shame. So I get that you're. Oh, nice. A guidon. Okay. And it looks like kind of a swing flag type of guidon. So we'll see what happens here. That's great. It's unfortunate that the camera operator wasn't able to get that. So here, Commander, nobody can see what you're doing. So okay, we've got to get orientation going here. So where the head judge is, right over here on the to the left of the screen here is the head judge. That's your main audience. That's your perform to side. And whatever you did, nobody can see because you're spinning with your back to the audience, but also all the spins went this way. And nobody can really, of course, everybody associated with the team and with military drill knows what you're doing. However, it needs to be flashy, which it was, but it also needs to be seen and easily seen. So you easily could have executed a partial facing movement, really brought that saber out, spun it around, and then popped it right back in as you pop to attention. So you have to be inventive and creative with the thought process of performing to your audience, not just performing. Okay? Next is this right here. What is this? So it's probably some sort of, it's a way of getting your distance. Okay, I get that, but it's rather awkward. I'll put it that way. And the look anyway is awkward. Nice ripple through. So, as I've said with several other performances, Commander, you're standing in the way. This is not personal. This has nothing to do with the person of the commander. This has everything to do with programming and design, drill design. So you are blocking the clear view of the performance. And your audience needs to be able to see everything, but they can see from left and then nothing, and then right. Now it's only one individual. What's the big deal? It is actually a big deal because the communication is partially blocked. We want clear 100% communication. Now, the spins like that, Commander, now everybody can see that, and that works well. And you knocked your cover. What a bummer. So, got a story to tell you. When I was in JROTC, I was the commander of my team. I did the same thing with the salute. And I spent the entire performance with my hat cocked like that. And I wore glasses. Nice job, Judge. Boy, do I appreciate that, because none of the judges did that for me, which was kind of a drag. All right, so let's go back and watch this entrance again. So nice work. The technique is not applied consistently, and you can see that in rifle angles. Even going up to right shoulder, there was the same angles weren't there. And you can see spinning here, not the same angles at all, really. Nicely done there. Love the little kick out and also the hand sweep. That worked really well. So look at the alignment here. Now, as far as the audience is concerned, alignment like this isn't usually viable. It isn't seen all that well. However, it can be a factor in the performance. It just depends. Yeah, you can see definitely much different technique in spinning for the one cadet right here. So did marching, let's go back here. Did marching to this spot, that was an interesting toss. I appreciate that. It was, although the orientation of the team made the effect extraordinarily diminished. But here, marching to here, marching away from your audience, marking time, halting, and then performing, was that something that do you think that works well? Being able to mark time for a few seconds, and we're talking 7 minutes and 45. That's what is on the counter down here, as far as the video is concerned. So less than 8 minutes. Do you think that marking time, even if it's just for 3 seconds, you're at right shoulder, do you think that's effective? Or do you think you could use your time, even though it might be just 2 or 3 seconds, do you think you could use that time a little more effectively? So this is a video you don't have to answer, but it's a question that you really need to ask yourself when you're designing your routine. So here I'll show you about the orientation. So that was it, despite the drop. Drops happen, that you carry on. This cadet went over, picked up the rifle just as he should have, as quickly as possible. Then you get back into the game. But your position here, Commander, you're facing to stage left. The audience is right. The audience can't see you. You're in front of me. Okay, if I'm the audience, you're facing this way. The team just did an exchange this way. Plus, you're at the back of the drill floor. How effective was that? It wasn't at all, really, because nobody could see exactly what's going on. Now, take that formation, rotate it, orient it differently. It's more or less a cordon. Do that exchange this way for your audience. Let's say the camera is the audience. Do that exchange this way, much more effective. Entirely different. So a return for the rifle, a nice exchange there, and that worked. People can see what's going on. Although with that toss there, that's similar to the Army drill team's toss that they'll do from the squad leaders all the way back to the catchers there. So the ones who toss heave the rifles over the whole platoon, which is, it's a great routine, or part of the routine, but they will throw like this instead of like this. Again, people can see what's going on, but the effect is minimized because the depth isn't there. Depth is here. Yeah, no problem. I can see, wow, you threw over how many people? Here, there aren't people in between. That's fine. But you exchanged, and again, less effective. So, where are you facing, guidon bearer? And why? Just because you are on that side, just because that side is facing away from the audience, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to. You're facing in all directions, and I get that. However, the guidon is outside of the formation, just like the commander is. The guidon is armed differently, and I love it that you have a guidon. I love this. That it's something that I've longed to see for years. More teams, I think, really need to have a guidon, and I appreciate this very much. But one, you're outside of the formation. Two, you are armed differently, which means three, you can do very different things. Look at the fish drill team. For their exhibition performance, they have the guidon bearer, which it's a smaller guidon and can be spun all kinds of ways. Then they have an extra driller. I believe that driller is called the nut. I'm not exactly sure. It doesn't matter. Anyway, those two can then toss a rifle and the guidon back and forth and spin, but they're outside of the formation. They do something different at different times than the rest of the platoon. And here you can too. Just because the team is doing something doesn't mean you exactly have to follow it. Because you being outside of, just like the commander, being outside of the formation means that you can be different. You're not integrated. Plus, it would be difficult really to integrate you. So why have you separated? Timing is good here, even facing away from each other. So are you using this separation for a reason? Now, unfortunately, the rule restrictions with swords, it really is unfortunate. There is a spinnable saber out there. It doesn't have a sharp edge. Marching band color guards, drum corps color guards use it all the time. Thousands and thousands have been sold across the United States and around the world. And tosses are done with it. Spins are done with it. It should be in this type of performance. The guidon bearer and the commander could do something with that, with equipment exchanges. So reformed here, going through a pass-through, works well. So you have used. Let's go back to so there really wasn't any specific reason to separate other than the challenge of timing. You come back together here. Still, timing is really quite good here. And Commander, Commander, why are you marking time? And then repeating what you're doing, spinning the same thing. Either way, you're still doing that though. And then guidon bearer, your audience is that way. Most of your performance now is far away from the audience, but you're doing larger drill movements, larger drill sequences. But guidon, why are you in front of the team like the commander was at first, blocking the view here? Commander on one side, guidon bearer on the other, at the back of the formation, facing. That makes sense to me. You're out of the way, plus you're an added performer. in that instance. So before, it's very interesting that this comes up. In a previous video that I did, I was talking, let's see, was it Francis Lewis? Or maybe it was probably Leavenworth. I was talking about, is there an amount of butt slams that are too much? And I was saying, it was just off the top of my head. I said, Leavenworth, they're purposeful. They're spaced, and where there's maybe 2 butt slams here or there, it works well. It's for effect. I get it. Now we come to this performance, and these butt slams are honestly a bit too much here. We'll see in just a second. There, right there. Bang, 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 bang. Why? Why do it? Does it add anything, or is it just something to do? So, and guidon bearer, you're positioning yourself so that you're centered. Your back is still to the audience. You're not really doing much except making sure that you're centered. And so, how does that add to the performance as well? And commander and guidon are marking time. So, got some moonwalking going on. That's great. However, so your cordon is this way. That's great. I appreciate that. But the movement between it, hardly anybody can see. If you remember when Michael Jackson first did the moonwalk, he didn't walk towards or away from the audience. He he moonwalked from left to right or right to left. That was to give everybody the effect. The effect here is lost. While the moonwalk was cool, it really was. I appreciate that. The effect just isn't really there. Now, rotating the cordon, I don't think really would work all that well. I think honestly that moonwalk and the guidon, the commander, could have stayed at the rear and then exchanged places even, and the commander could have moonwalked. And the guidon bearer, as he was exchanging places with the commander, could have highlighted the moonwalk as far as visual cues with looking with the head, the guidon, following the commander. While that was a cool move, but like I said, the effect was just lost, unfortunately. So why did you go down to your knee there, Commander? And why march back and then march back to your same place? So at least the commander is performing and not necessarily just blocking. And again, it's lost. The effect is lost. It's great, but the lean should have been at an angle. So everybody should have, instead of facing front, everybody should have angled forward and then leaned. Then you can see it. There's a drum and bugle corps from years ago, I believe it was 1985, that took their left foot, brought it back around, used it as a kickstand kind of, and then leaned back. But they leaned back at an angle while they were playing a note. And it worked really well. Even though they're leaning away from the audience, it was at an angle so that you could see it. It was just slightly perceptible and worked well for that situation. The lean forward, so people know what you're doing off to the side, but the lean directly forward, just it the audience misses it. Hopefully that was intended with the coming back, the commander turning around and uh, having the sword uh, point to the team as they're turning. That was really good. So nice. That was a nice ending there. But the it's just a. Well, let's go back here. There we go. So here's what I'm talking about. That really worked well. That was great. Good split off there and creating the two lines. However, so since you have the two odd men out here, meaning Commander and Guidon, if you would have, boy, if you would have created an inverted wedge. So we have a wedge where the judge is here, then we have an inverted wedge. The Guidon bearer could have been at the point in the back, doing some wilder, larger moves with the Guidon, easily seen, no problem. And then the commander could have been at the front of the inverted wedge and then reported out. I think that would have been much more effective, even with the whole team being in this position here. It would have, I think, really worked well. Just won't stay on, will it? Nice job, Judge. The Oh, good. Now see that it's too bad the camera wasn't in the front so that I could see it better. But um, that was the kind of exchange in front of the audience. You could hear whoa, now, and you could have heard a couple more whoas from your audience had the orientation of certain moves been a little different. That would have been great. So I appreciate the team uh, requesting the feedback, and I hope my comments have been helpful. Thank you.